This video is a walkthrough slash review of our boat. Our boat being a custom built 6-meter Mako boat with the model name Sojourn. And the word Sojourn means a short stay, which is exactly what we designed that boat to do. The design brief we put in front of Dane at Mako's was somewhat of a simple one. Myself and Milan had always wanted the smallest boat that we could sleep 2 people on comfortably. We had always wanted a boat with the entire front slash hood area of the boat flat. That then creating an awesome casting deck to fish off and fight fish off. As Milan puts it, it's like a land-based sledge that you can take anywhere. We had the idea in our heads that stairs would provide easy access to the casting deck, but Dane then added the very practical idea that the stairs would fold up to reveal the cabin also. I had always had it in my head that some sort of tent would turn that massive casting deck into an awesome space where I could pump up an airbed and spend the night. That tent would also provide enough shelter from the elements when needed. The one other major thing that Sojourn had to have was the ability to store 8'6" rods with big Saltiguers attached and have them fully rigged, ready to be able to cast at anything at very short notice. To which Dane put forth the idea of a fold-up dash, which at first seemed absolutely crazy to me, but at the same time, if it worked, it would then be the talking point of the boat. Not only did it work perfectly, but yes, it is the talking point of Sojourn. Alrighty, so the basic, technical bits and pieces, the stats of the boat are what, Dane?
6.2 metres overall. Normally this hull is about 2.2 wide, but this one is a little bit wider because of the flares, the flare up the front that you guys wanted. So I think it goes a little over 2.3. About 800 mil freeboard inside the boat when you're leaning against the gunnels. Takes about 140 litres of fuel. Has flotation chambers down each side of that, and this one is obviously for survey, it's foam filled as well, so it will float upright. That's about all I remember off the top of my head.
What about the dead rise?
Dead rise is 16 degrees, but it's quite variable through to the front, so a lot of people sort of go, that's quite flat, but because of the way that we make everything variable, it is still quite fine in the front, but it means that we don't have to run flooding keels and things like that to give our stability at rest, which works well when you're moving too.
Perfect. Thickness of the hull, skins, blah.
These are standard, these are 5mm bottoms and 4mm sides, which is what your one is, and all the structure under the floor is all 4mm, transom is 5. But we have done a few with 6mm upgrades in the bottoms and even some with some 5mm sides. So,
what about an estimated weight on the trailer?
Well, your one is friggin' heavy.
Yep.
It's got a lot of stuff in it.
What's a normal one?
Ordinarily, this is a hard top with full tank of fuel and stuff. It's probably just starting to touch on 1,500 kilos on a standard trailer. Most of these are in the sort of 12 to 1,400 kg range.
Now, we have a 200 on the back of our boat, and it's not about need, Dane, but what would you normally put on a 6-meter boat?
Normally on these as a cabin boat, for guys that want to keep the package price down a little bit, they'll get 130 to 150 horsepower. Especially when we go to the hardtop versions, we have sort of 150 horsepower on most of them. But a 115 with a command thrust option or something like that does a very good job too.
And if you went absolutely nuts like us, what can you spend on a 6-meter boat?
That's the question, all right. I think we got, with the tent and stuff for you guys, I think we got up past 200k. I think we were at 211. Probably now it's probably a little more than 220. I don't know what else you could jam in a boat that you guys haven't already got in it, so I don't know you could go too much higher than that. I guess the thing with this boat is that it was a lot to stick into a small package, which made it difficult to fabricate, especially with all the opening and closing rod storages and ladders for the stairs and things like that. So yeah, it was just quite a time-consuming build, much more than what we thought that it would be.
7.8 overall on the trailer.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to get.
What about 2.3?
What is it? 2.3?
2.3. You'd want 2.3 for the bit, with a bit of clearance. Right there.
2.4 wide overall on the trailer. Alrighty, now that that's done, starting from the front of the boat and working our way back. We, of course, will never ever have a boat again without a Minkota on the front of it, but on Sojourn, we wanted the Minkota mounted right on the bow of the boat for a couple of reasons. Number one, if it's right on the bow of the boat, it's going to give us far more control over the boat, far better maneuverability, and it's also going to create less drag, therefore our batteries are going to last longer. Now we have the Minkota Tarova, which is a 24 volt system with an 80-pound thrust. And we have four 250 amp hour 6 volt batteries that are 37 kilos a piece stuffed up in the front of Sojourn to make up the 24 volt system. So basically we've got two 6 volt batteries wired together to make 12 volts. And then we've got another two 6 volt batteries wired together to make 12 volts. And then those two 12 volt banks wired together make the 24 volts needed to run the Minkota. Come charging time, we've got a breaker switch in there that if we switch, we turn that 24 volt system into two 12 volt banks. And then we've got a charger that has three 12 volt charging ports on it. We can plug each one of those Minkota banks in, charge them at 12 volts, and we can also plug the house bank in on the same charger and charge the house bank, the Minkota and everything all at once, all on the same charger. It is a perfect little system. Now, because we wanted the Minkota right on the bow of our boat, that then kind of created a little problem with the anchor. But Dane is very, very good at solving problems. So now the anchor comes up in underneath the bow of the boat. And on Sojourn, we went with the whole drum winch style winch as opposed to the windlass. And it has done nothing but do whatever we've asked it to do. And since building the boat, we've had Dane make a little hatch on the front of the boat so we can open up and see the drum and everything going on, because sometimes the anchor gets wedged up in the front of the boat and it needs a little bit of encouragement to come out. And if anything did go wrong, it's just real easy access to untangle it while we're on the boat. I got it! Now, the main thing in the past that we have most wanted on a boat and not been able to have is that massive casting deck. We just measured the casting deck with Dane before, and it is 2.3 meters at its widest and 2.3 meters from the point of the bow to the front of the windscreen. There is more than enough room to swing an 8'6" rod around. Not only that, but it has been such an awesome filming deck. You know, as a cameraman, it has been awesome for me because I'm able to be up on the casting deck with Milan. I'm not obstructing him, not getting in his way. There's plenty of room. I can film over his shoulder and get all these awesome action shots. And also being on that casting deck, you're a little bit more elevated. Therefore, I can see into the water just that little bit more and film fish being fish and doing what fish do. It is very, very, very cool. But I will admit to being a little bit worried about what it was going to be like to fight a fish off that casting deck, given that it's just a big flat area with no bow rail and nothing to stop you from getting pulled off the boat, although I was ready to film Milan getting pulled off the boat. But at the end of the day, if you just learn to bend your knees rather than getting pulled forward or being hunched over, if you just bend your knees, sit down, squat down with the rod, then you can pull really hard on fish, and we've managed to land some monsters off that casting deck. So it is, as Milan says, a land-based ledge that you can take anywhere.
You good?
All right, I got photos. Hang on, I just want to look at the size of his head, dude. All right, man, let him go, mate.
He slimed me up. Holy shit, that was a pig.
Now the stairs on the boat are obviously the easiest way to get on and off the casting deck, but behind the stairs is Milan's colourful little cubbyhole. Feet down in behind the dash, and you can lay flat with your arms extended above your head. It's an awesome size sleeping arrangement. Now, as a cameraman trying to film fishing and film the fish, the most elevated you can be is the best way to film because you can see into the water. So Dane the Legend made a stand that means that I can stand on top of those stairs, therefore I'm as elevated as I could ever be on the boat, providing the best filming angle to see fish be fish and eat lures. God, it's good to see a kingfish on a ray again.
Spring kingfish are awesome, but this is so awesome as well.
And now for the dash. I hand-picked the steering wheel for Sojourn all by myself. That was awesome. And being that the lateral line is pretty much entirely filmed with a mobile phone, then some mobile phone chargers were first on my list to be on the dash. From there, we have the full electronic package from Hummingbird and all the necessities like VHF radios, sniffers, and all the bits and pieces that make a good seaworthy boat. And a few extra USB ports for drones and all the rest of it. And the dash, when lifted up, is a stowaway for 5 big saltigas on 8'6" rods, completely tucked away, and then you close the dash and you can even lock the dash. How good is that? Now the seat in the boat is as practical as it is colourful, and it folds up revealing a chili bin, and as it folds up the chili bin lid comes up as well. It's awesome. We have a dedicated battery for starting the boat, a 12-volt battery, and then our house bank is actually 2 6-volt batteries paralleled to make 12 volts because they just last a little bit longer that way, and that is all neatly tucked away in the back of the boat. We have a 140 litre underfloor fuel tank, which is pretty much standard as far as I know if you buy a 6 metre Mako boat. Now if you're as keen on catching kingfish as Milan is, then your boat has to have a live bait tank, and the most obvious place to put it is in the step, and it works perfect. One thing that I really like about the way Dane builds a boat is he doesn't drill any holes in the back of the boat. He makes up these little brackets that hold everything from the trim tabs to the live bait tank pump to the underwater lights. Everything is on its own external bracket. Therefore, you are not drilling holes in a boat, because when you drill holes in a boat, you feel a little bit stupid. Now, if you talk to Dane, you only need a 115 or maybe a little bit bigger on a 6 metre Mako, but we have a 200 on our boat because it's not about need. And I'm going to use the 140 kilos worth of Minkota batteries up the front of the boat as some sort of justification for our 200 horsepowers. Now again, the word Sojourn means a short stay, and that is exactly what we built Sojourn to be, a short stay. But to make that all possible, I'd always had it in my head that a tent would somehow pop up on the front of the boat. Right, so first up we have 4 big half rounds in a nice little packet. Thank you, Roger, on the front of the boat. They come out, and then there's these little holes that are around the boat, and they go into there, and then there's just 4 big hoops over the boat. The tent is a 3-piece kit. So the first piece is basically a sunshade that goes from the last hoop to the middle hoop and covers that piece of the boat and goes over the front. It's even got little windows in it, look. And some little zips. Zip the poles into the tent. And yes, you can do it all on the boat in the water without having to get out. And now the second part zips onto the first part, goes over the front two hoops, and then again buckles along the underside of the boat. And when I put it up, I just start the zip on this side and then clip the bottom pieces around all the way around the boat, and then zip the middle piece over the boat last. And last but not least, the tent has a ground sheet, and then there ends up to be a wall in here that even has a window and a door. And in case you're wondering, I chose the camo and Milan chose the rainbow. Nice tent, Milan.
It's a very nice tent, Nato.
And I forgot to mention that there's an anchor light that plugs into there, goes up, and then there's a little hole in the tent just there and just pokes out the top of the tent. And then you're safe as houses and compliant and everything else. Now, of course, there comes a trailer. We talked to Dane during the build process of Sojourn, and we went through all the pros and cons of a steel trailer versus an alloy trailer, and we went the extra mile and got an alloy trailer built, and I am so glad that we did. That alloy trailer is now 1.5 years old, and it looks brand spanking new. It looks amazing when the boat is on the trailer, and provided it is manufactured strong enough and you look after it, and I mean look after it, it will last the lifetime of the boat, and that to me gives a huge resale value and an issue down the track that now does not exist. The trailer is equipped with all the Trojan bits and pieces, including an electric winch up the front, which has come in handy a couple of times. And the trailer is fully equipped with a Balex. Balex is another one of them products that once you've had it, you can't go without it. And if you don't know what a Balex is, it is basically an electric hydraulic motor system that takes the boat off the trailer for you at a push of a button and puts it on the trailer for you at the push of a button. Now, the finish of the boat. If you look at our boat from a aerial perspective, then pretty much every surface you can see from that aerial perspective is covered with a product called U-Deck. U-Deck being a closed cell foam, or more simply put, 5 or so mils of rubber, and it has a 3M backing, and you can put it through a router machine, cut it to any size. We went with the teak look, but there's a whole bunch of other colors and patterns and stuff that you can get as well. But yeah, we went with the teak look, and you can also router in not only that teak look, but logos and pictures, and I'd imagine pretty much whatever you want, provided you could get it into a computer programmer so that the router can see it and router it in. And from there, pretty much every other surface, if it could be wrapped with vinyl, it has been wrapped with vinyl by Glenn and his team at Brave Designs in Auckland. They do an amazing job, and it's just a real easy fix as well. You know, if you beat the thing up, you can just peel it off and redo it, and it's done. And I think it looks far better than bare alloy. And I've found in the past that we've just been far too rough to have a boat painted because we just beat the crap out of it. Thank you also very, very much for watching the Lateral Line boat review / walkthrough. We will be fishing again real soon. Cheer, my brothers and my sisters. Have as much fun as you possibly can.